Good morning. This is Alan Hollander, and we're here with the morning after for January the 30th, 2014. A little bit better than we felt yesterday. I think having a flu creates a fair amount of anger in your personality, or at least it draws it out, and you get frustrated. And yesterday was yesterday was an example of that. I really went for a rant, went off on a tangent, but I kind of feel like it's almost like you see the news, you report on it, and I don't generally do news programs. I in the past, in my radio experiences, I've never really read the news. I'm not comfortable with reading the news. I'm comfortable talking about the news, making a commentary, but that's about it. I'm not really into because I think the news is pretty much spoon-fed to us by the media, and just watch the news and you'll see how it becomes almost rote. You look at Brian Williams; it's almost robotic. And in some cases, other people are the same way that report on the news. Tony Parsons is a great presenter, but pretty stoic in his presentation. At any rate, not to ramble on, but we're going to start off on a positive note this morning, and I think today we'll focus on a few other things, not just what's happening with the Canadian government, but. I'm going to start off with the weather. How's that? That's nice. It's not that great, but I spoke to my son in Seattle yesterday and sent him a picture of Peachland, a video, I should say, off my iPad of the snow coming down, and it was pretty. He was pretty happy. He said, "Send some our way because they're not having very much snow in the Pacific Northwest," and so it was gorgeous yesterday. Of course, I was housebound and not able to get out and enjoy it. Feeling better today, and we'll probably take our little rescue dog out for a walk right after I do this show. And as a matter of fact, as I speak, the snow is beginning again in Peachland. And that is the story here in Peachland for today, which is Thursday, the 20th of January. We are going to continue to experience scattered flurries throughout the day, and probably a total of 2 centimeters. Right now it's -1, and the temperature's not supposed to get much higher than 1 degree today. And this evening we're going to have some more snow and a temperature of 0, and overnight it's going to drop to -4. And Friday morning we'll wake up to -4. Tomorrow morning it'll feel like -6 with the wind, but it'll be -4 with cloudy periods. And then the long-range forecast is starting to look, things will clear up, but the weather's getting colder. And not sure how cold, well, let's put it this way. At one point we were pretty much, we had our cold snap. I remember with the Christmas light up, it was -19. We were out there trying to do our entertainment with the entertainers. It was it was really cold. It was long john weather. Anyways, the long-range forecast is for mainly sunny on Saturday, -1 for a high overnight low of 7. And then as we look into the really long range, well, not that long range, Tuesday. By Tuesday, the temperatures are going to drop down to -10 and a high of -4. So brace yourself, it's going to get colder in Peachland. That is the weather for Peachland. We got that out of the way first because we want to talk about some other things. Here's an interesting little thing that happened overnight. This hit the wire, and let's start off with this. There's 2 heritage homes going for $1 each in the Boston Bar area, in the Fraser Canyon. So the question is in this news clip: are you fed up with the high price of real estate in BC? In the Boston Bar area of the Fraser Canyon, you can now buy 2 heritage houses for $1 each. That's right, folks, $1 each. The only thing you'll need to do before moving in is some serious renovations. The Canadian Pacific Railway opened up the West and brought people to smaller towns in BC's Fraser Valley. CPR built homes in communities like Boston Bar, and in this case, North Bend, for their employees. The town lost their last sawmill years ago, and until now hasn't been in the limelight. The pair of 100-year-old heritage homes are 2 of the cheapest homes on the market in Canada. They come with sewer, water, and land. And with housing being overly expensive in BC, the interest in these 2 homes has been phenomenal. The taxes are low, and there are a lot of good features, Lloyd Foreman, Boston Bar's Fraser Valley Regional Director, told Global News. And the best thing is they're $1. Excuse me, the dollar is the big deal. The dollar is the big hook. It's something that's worked really well, something like free beer. The homes are located across the street from the town's public swimming pool, but before anyone considers purchasing the homes, the buyer will have to restore the exterior to heritage condition, which could end up costing roughly $100,000. There's the catch. The inside of the home, where there are no conditions set upon purchase, will be another cost. Regardless of the conditions for buying, it hasn't deterred interest. After less than 12 hours on the market, there were more than 50 potential buyers that had called the community's regional director expressing interest. We want to save it, Foreman said. I had people who phoned me this morning and say my grandparents lived on that street, and I was in tears when I read about it. I want that house. Justin Williams is one... Excuse me, I'm going to lose my voice here, I know, after this flu bug. Justin Williams is one potential buyer who knows about the history of resource and railway towns like Boston Bar. There you go. We'll report in a very monotone, low-key fashion. Like the town, Williams has BC roots that go back generations, and getting the opportunity to own a heritage home intrigues him. If you follow a certain lineage in my family, it goes back 7 generations as a West Coast Canadian, Williams said. So I think there's some connection to this province and their heritage homes. Any offers of interest on the 2 heritage homes are being accepted by the town's regional district office. And I'm now going to suck on a lozenge on the air, which you can get away with on internet radio and free-range radio. Now, speaking of the snow, they're telling us that the snow will ease off later today. Snow will taper off today in the wake of a cold front that is sweeping southward across BC. Behind this system will be under a drier air mass. The northern regions, Columbia, Shuswap, will see the snow tapering off earlier than the rest of the interior, and by this evening, areas like Revelstoke will see breaks. And what else can we say about the weather? The northern region will see the snow tapering off. The rest of the southern interior will see brighter, drier, and sunnier conditions by Friday. The weekend looks mostly dry with some sun, but a bit cooler. Well, here was an interesting bit overnight. A McDonald's employee in the U.S. was charged with selling heroin in Happy Meals. Okay, this is in Pittsburgh. An employee of a McDonald's restaurant in Pittsburgh was charged Wednesday with selling heroin in child-oriented Happy Meals to customers using the coded request, "I'd like to order a toy." That was the buzzword. And they did the exchange, or the secret word, shall we say. Say the secret word, divide $100. Remember, Groucho Marx used to say that. So this guy says, say the secret word and get some cocaine or heroin. Sorry, say the secret word and get some heroin. Authorities made the arrest. I could do my Groucho Marx expression, which would really get everybody going. But I've got a lozenge in my mouth. I can't quite do it. But okay, there we go. Say the secret word and get yourself some heroin. All right, there you go. Customers looking for heroin were instructed to go through the drive-thru and say, "I'd like to order a toy," said Mike Manco, spokesman for the district attorney's office. The customer would then drive to the window, hand over the money, and get a Happy Meal box containing heroin in exchange. Boy, it attaches a whole new meaning to the drive-thru window. Undercover agents set up a drug buy and arrested Shania Dennis, 26. Dennis denied wrongdoing to reporters as she was being led away in handcuffs. "I didn't do it. I was just giving them a Happy Meal." Authorities said they found 10 bags of heroin in a Happy Meal box and recovered another 50 from the suspect. But she still denied and said, "Hey, I'm really just giving burgers." Anyways, what else? And there's more of a problem in Vermont with a rising, of all places, remember this Moonlight in Vermont. Who knew when Frank Sinatra was saying, and Ella Fitzgerald sang Moonlight in Vermont, that beautiful romantic song, little did they know they were having a rising problem of heroin and pill abuse. This is in Montpelier, Vermont. Behind the facade of quaint villages and one of the lowest unemployment rates in the U.S., tiny Vermont is fighting with heroin and painkiller abuse, and leaders say it's fueling crime and wrecking lives. Federal statistics rank Vermont among the top 10 states for the abuse of painkillers and illicit drug use other than marijuana for people ages 18 to 25. Last week, Governor Peter Shumlin took the unusual step of devoting almost his entire state of the state address to the problem. He called on the legislature to pass laws encouraging treatment and seek ideas on the best way to prevent people from becoming addicted. He also called for stiffer penalties for traffickers and people who use weapons in drug crimes. Anyone who doesn't believe that they have okay, we won't go there. Anyone who denies they don't have a problem in their state is in denial. This is what he told his Associated Press after his speech. This is primarily a public health crisis. What else happened overnight? Well, while you were sleeping, Justin Bieber wasn't. He was showing up in Toronto, charged with assault, accused of striking a limousine driver. So here we go, the continuous saga. I'm going to start opening my program each morning with, stories. Just call them Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod, our three Canadian celebrity stars. We all know that America's addicted to celebrities. I mean, it's pretty well obvious when you look at them. If you can fall in love with Duck Dynasty, something's wrong with you. You can actually call them celebrities. Anyways, I think the three people that have been occupying the headlines for the last month are Rob Ford, Justin Bieber, and Stephen Harper. So, you kind of got a trilogy there. But I sort of remember the old nursery rhyme, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. So you can attach, whoever's who you think they are. Anyways, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. Justin Bieber has been charged with assault in connection with an alleged altercation with a limousine driver in Toronto last month. The 19-year-old singer surrendered in Toronto's Police 52 Division at around 7:30 p.m. Wednesday. Bundled in a black coat with trim and wearing a blue baseball cap backwards on his head, Bieber was mobbed by media and fans as he stepped out of a black SUV and rushed into a side door of the downtown police station. According to police officers, he responded to a call early in the morning of December the 30th about an alleged assault in the Dundas Street West and University area. A limo driver who had picked up 6 people at a nightclub at Peter Street and Adelaide Street West claimed he was struck several times on the head by one of the passengers during an altercation en route to the hotel. The driver pulled over, exited his vehicle, and waited for police. Police allege the suspect left the scene prior to the arrival of officers. On Wednesday, Bieber was charged with 1 count of assault and released. He is scheduled to appear in court at Old City Hall on March 10th, of this year at 11 a.m. Unlike most U.S. law enforcement agencies, police departments in Canada generally do not make mugshots public. But still, Bieber arrived at the side entrance because he wanted to avoid a crowd, but couldn't do that. He was accompanied by Seth Weinstein of Toronto firm Greenspan Humphrey Levine, who was also, get this, representing Toronto Mayor Ford's friend Sandra Lisi in an extortion case. Okay, so that's interesting. Maybe that's why Rob Ford commented and said on a morning sports show in the States, in Washington, D.C., he said, "Gee, I wish I would have had the success that Justin Bieber had when I was young." That's where his brain went. He wants to cut the kids some slack. Rather than maybe Rob Ford never got the tough love that the Bieber needs right now. Bieber needs tough love. And I think Rob Ford, we've said clearly, everybody around him enables his mother, his brother. It is sad to see. And if that's the case with Justin Bieber, that people are just enabling him, and there isn't anybody there with some tough love, then he'll head in the same direction as Rob Ford, and that's why Rob Ford doesn't get it. Rob Ford, he doesn't see that. So that's my biggest concern would be, if I was Justin's mother, is that he has sort of the same MO, so to speak, or head in that direction, unless somebody really takes him aside, and instead of getting him off all the time and enabling him, because he's making so much money for a whole lot of people. Everybody's got a vested interest in him. It's the same with Rob Ford, his brother, his mother. They all have an interest in him succeeding in politics, because that's really what enables him to continue his behavior. Anyways, everybody's in denial except, who else is in denial? All right. What else have we got going on here? Well, let's see here. Well, I guess we could get to our story now about our prime minister, and this is almost this morning. I was listening to NW, the Bill Good show. People were calling in, of course, wanting the resignation of Julian Fantano, the minister responsible for Veterans Affairs. And, to hear the emotion in the voices of some of the people who were speaking, the veterans, and, crying, it just... Anyways, if you watched the news last night, you saw them. So, he defended Fantino's actions. Stephen Harper did. And one of the veterans said that there are a few things Fantino should be told. This was in a post-meeting press conference. By the way, they waited 70 minutes for him. He showed up 70 minutes late. One of the veterans said he should be taught manners. Manners is number one. Number two, to respect the veterans. And number three, it's time that he better wake up and give us a break on these things. Fantino has since apologized. Of course, what else is new? That's what they do. But the damage has been done. Both the NDP leader, Mulcair, and Justin Trudeau are now calling on the Prime Minister to fire Fantino. Of course, that won't happen because Fantino will just resign. When the veterans complained that the minister had missed their meeting, he said, "I'm not going to stand here and listen to that," and he stormed out. This is Fantino. How is that acceptable to the Prime Minister? Will the Prime Minister do the right thing? No, he won't. Apologize himself? No, he won't. And fire that incompetent? No, he won't. In turn, what did we say? Very predictable. And by the way, I get on this whole rant and rage about Stephen Harper, but it's to no avail other than raising my blood pressure. My wife usually says, there you go again. But, I just speak the truth, and that's all we can do. So, very predictable. Harper defended his minister, just like he's done with everybody else. Then he throws them under the bus. So he defended the minister and the record of the department. The minister has apologized for the events of yesterday. And here's the statement that really boggles the mind. And this is the part where I say at some point, if we could just put the Prime Minister of this country under oath, just put a Bible, he's Christian, he understands the Bible. Put him in front of his peers, or it doesn't have to be a court of law. It could be on national television. Okay, here's what I'm proposing: that he goes on national television, no audience, just him in a room, okay, with any network can do the interview. Although some of them are biased towards him. We have a very limited scope here in Canada of TV networks. It should be an independent voice, like we are here with internet radio, where it's an independent voice. And somebody with an independent voice asks him a number of questions, okay? And it's a list of questions that the Canadian public sends to this interviewer, okay? It's not stacked. It's not pre-programmed for the minister. For the Prime Minister's aide to see, or his assistant to see. These are all questions from you and I, the citizens of Canada, who they are responsible for. We pay their salary. We elected them. They are not hired by some headhunting agency. Okay, they're only answerable to us, the Canadian people. That's why they're called elected officials. So we put Prime Minister Harper, sit him down with a Bible, get him to swear on the Bible that he will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Or Jesus, whatever he wants to say. And then let him speak the truth, because every time he says something, we know it's not the truth, but he makes us believe that it's the truth. And if he actually believes that it's the truth, then, as I said to you, we are in real trouble. Because sociopaths and psychopaths lie and see nothing wrong with it. So when the Dalai Lama says, or Buddha says, love everyone but trust a few, I think he really meant it. But so here's what Harper said when he responded to Mulcair. The minister has apologized for the events of yesterday, he replied. But the fact of the matter is that this government and this minister have increased services for our veterans without precedent. This is important for our government. It always has been, to protect those who wear the uniform and who once wore the uniform. So, there's the lie, and that's what the veterans are saying. That's a lie. And so if he were to be swearing under oath, he would be swearing and he would be lying under oath. But unfortunately, that'll never happen unless there were criminal proceedings against him and he had to appear in a court of law. And then you could ask him these questions. So the closing of the centers, the Tories are saying the move will save taxpayers $3.78 million a year and won't hurt services at all. And that veterans can access many of the services online or visit one of the 600 Service Canada offices across the country. Okay, so he's telling us, the taxpayers, that we want him to save money for us. By the way, he never asked my permission about this. Of course, he never would, or any of us. And he's going to save us $3.78 million a year. So he never asked us if he could do that. He never asked us to give $150 million, to commit $150 million of our money to the Middle East. In the Middle East, there was $150 million committed. And these 600 service centers, most of the veterans can't get to them. And when they get to them, they have a 22-year-old employee that sits there and says, "What's a veteran?" They never experienced a war. So it's just tragic, the whole thing. And I won't go into it because I don't want to spend a whole lot more time in this. It goes hand in hand, I think, with their absolute negligence in treating Canadians with, disabilities, wounded soldiers. It's a very callous and calculated move in which money trumps heroes, and that's some of the quotes that we're hearing. This decision rests with Stephen Harper, the economist, the bean counter, the guy who has no qualms about sending 200 people on international vacations while at the same time leaving our veterans to fend for themselves. This isn't me just talking. This is countless number of people all across the country, whether it's a Liberal MP, Dan McTague, who says this, or it's just everybody, the 15 or 20 people on the open line this morning with Bill Good. You see it. It's just so obvious, the discrepancies. On the one hand, you're taking 200 people on an international trip. You're spending our money. It's friends of his. It's all for political reasons. We're getting to the point now where every day something is happening with respect to what they're doing. And as I said to you, fish rots from the head down. And let's face it, I know it's an old axiom, but it's true with a corporation, a company. If the CEO, it's leadership by example, and if the CEO is unethical, or he lies, or he has psychopathic tendencies, which a lot of CEOs do, that's why they're hired, to get the job done, to make money for the shareholders. As a matter of fact, I remember when I wrote my book, and people I sort of used an example of a shareholders meeting where everyone went in there, and the CEO got up and said, "I just want to announce that you've all made millions on this company. We've done extremely well, and heading into the future, we're going to have, we're going to make another $1 million for you all. We're going to have 200 million in sales in the next month, and just a wonderful report." Everybody hears the glowing news. Absolutely nobody raises their hand. None of the shareholders raise their hand and ask the one fundamental question that you should be asking anybody, whether it's the CEO of a company or the Prime Minister of Canada or even a friend of yours. The question is, so what part of what you just told me is a lie? That's all you need to ask. So what part of what you just told me is a lie? And if they tell you if they can tell you the truth, which of course many of them just can't, and then if they tell you the truth, then the next question is, Jack Nicholson would say, "Can you handle the truth? You can't handle the truth. Can you handle the truth?" And if you can handle the truth, wouldn't you be far better off knowing that person is lying to you? Then you know what to do. But if you never ask the question or are afraid to ask somebody the question, so what part of what you just told me is a lie, they never have to be accountable and never responsible. So that would be my message as far as all of us that are extremely upset with this government and the lies that come out of their mouths every night on the newscast. It's the same thing. Okay, what else have we got here in the category of winking, blinking, and nod? I don't know. I just came up with that last night. You can tell me who you think winking is and who blinking is and who nod is. What else? I don't know. Isn't that hilarious? Well, Mayor Robertson was mistaken for the Sochi mayor, Chelsea Handler, good old Chelsea Handler. That was quite funny. And of course, Robertson said, he had to treat it very seriously and say, yeah, it may be a joke, but, we're all in favor of, we're opposed to what the Russians are doing with the gays. And, he created sort of a stance as opposed to saying, oh, well, It was humorous. I mean, basically, on Monday, it was, if you saw Chelsea lately, Chelsea Handler showed a mean-looking picture of Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson. It was probably a picture that he looked at when people questioned his bike lanes, and he was so angry. How dare you question my bike lanes? She was discussing the Sochi mayor Anatoly Pashimov's recent remarks about gays in Sochi. We do not have them in our city, the mayor said. Handler's tweet about the remark has since been removed, but Victoria resident Laura Little noticed the mistake that night and took a picture of her television, which they showed, and then posted the tweet. So Vancouver resident William Mueller noticed it too and wrote on his Facebook page. This is wonderful things of social media. The fact that the Canadian flag was shown behind the mayor obviously didn't clue in to the producers of the show. Well, no, it wouldn't. Let's face it, most people in America don't know much about Canada, never have, never will. I mean, I went to school there in the States, and it's just the way it is. They don't know anything about Canada, and we're the closest next door neighbors. As a matter of fact, somebody asked who they thought was better looking, Obama or I think it was who's better looking, Obama or Harper, and they said who's Harper? So, anyways, Robertson sent a tweet back himself. He called it a bizarre little confusion. I sent her a reminder that I am not the mayor of Sochi and have always stood strong and proud for Vancouver's LGBT community. And gay rights are really important to Vancouverites, and we just want to set the record straight here. Gregor, you didn't have to be, stand on a pedestal and say that. Just brush it off. And ironically, Vancouver's Olympic delegation to Sochi, which left on Tuesday, is headed by openly gay councillor Tim Stevenson. Robertson says he has not heard back from Handler's staff. No, I don't think he will. I think he thinks he's too important, Gregor. You're not going to get a response from Chelsea. All right, what do we got? We got a few minutes left, and I've given you the weather, so I don't have to do that. Maybe we'll just finish a little early today, and I think that's about it. Stay tuned for the rest of the story, by the way, with Paul Harvey. And just a quick reminder before we go, Peachland Radio, of course, we're all part of the digital family here, Peachland Radio Waves, which is our digital newspaper. And if you haven't subscribed, I hope you will. And we cover a lot of the events that are going on in Peachland, and Fran Gouvier reports on that every morning, so you'll hear what's happening in Peachland. And this weekend, we're starting with our sneak preview week to coincide with Super Bowl. Super Preview Week at Peachland Radio. We've got about over 19 great shows under categories of conversation and talk, nostalgia, variety, and cool jazz. I think you'll really love the buffet of shows. Great hosts, great shows. You'll get to experience them all over the next week from February 1st to the 8th. We'll talk more about them tomorrow. In the meantime, go to our website. Go to our website. You can listen to our Jukebox on the Peach programming right now at peachlandradio.com. Some great music. You'll love it. Anyways, that's it for me. Stay tuned for the rest of the story with Paul Harvey. Just click on the link below and give it a listen. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you all tomorrow.